Okay, welcome to the start of a new anime review series. Yeah, this is a series that was kind of recommended to me by, well, suggested by Anime News, one of the people I subscribe to, one of the anime YouTubers. I love the stuff that he basically puts out, and he did mention that the series is really good, and well, it is. The name of the series is Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. Now, of course, like usual, prior to start watching the series, of course, this episode. Oh, of course, I should also mention this episode does cover the first two episodes of the series, which, yeah, excuse me, yeah. Now, in the case of this series, the series only came out like the light novel series just started just about 7 years ago, and I've only read just the opening book of the series. In just the first two episodes, we introduced to the main character of Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, to Rudius Garrett, who the thing starts off quite interestingly, basically kind of the end of his life. Well, the end of his previous life, mind you. Yes. They do kind of expand upon this a little bit in episode 2, where they show a little bit more here. Yes, and in case you're curious though, like, does a light novel, do they do a little more expansion? Well, they do. It just seems as though for the episodes themselves, they just basically rather just go like a little bit here and there. Yeah, in the case of like the first episode, this episode, it covers the first 4 chapters, which probably these chapters are really short. And of course, they have a little bit of the prelude, and of course, they go basically the first 6 out of 11, basically about half the book in just 2 episodes. Yes, so basically, this is kind of similar to what happened with Saga Time Evil, where you have it where the main character is reincarnated out of the world. You know, the difference is, in the case of Saga Time Evil, Tanya was originally a guy who was reincarnated as a girl. This guy, which they do not name him, and they do kind of show his face, but it's not like a full reveal per se. He is a chunky guy, wears a tracksuit. Apparently, he's been a hermit for 20 years. And here's something interesting though about this guy. Well, apparently, he says 20 years. He died at the age of 34, which makes him like a year older than I am. And he apparently has been sort of a hermit for 20 years. So basically, he's been a hermit since he was 14. Like, wow. And apparently, it's shown in the next episode what he was doing prior to his apparent death, to his actual death, where he apparently was watching porn. And the guys doing, they always watch porn. And apparently, these 3 guys, apparently there was a funeral going on. Apparently, I don't know if he was supposed to be at it or whatever. They don't really say. Yeah, these 3 guys in suits come with baseball bats, and they throw him out of his room, like the room he's staying in. I'm like, okay, could you at least give the guy some freaking shoes? Yeah, he's wearing just his tracksuit. He practically has got nothing. He's got no shoes, just his tracksuit, and he just walks along, and then we see his truck spin out of control, and then of course it's shown he actually saves the person. Which, in the case of the light novel, not light novel, the manga, they actually expand upon this scene a bit. They actually do, in fact, do a good deed saving this girl from this runaway truck. He goes to the hospital. He's like, oh, just calm down. And this is not one of those cases where they actually have like 2 voice actors for the character. One of the few series I've seen like this. I've seen this also with Overlord and Case Closed. In the case of Overlord was kind of similar. This was basically Isekai one. This is one of those reincarnation one. Now, in the case of basically who voices Rudius, in his adult sub is voiced by Ben Phillips. I don't know who this guy is, and of course his child actor is Madeline Morse, which of course we have to have a woman voicing a little boy. Yep. So he gets reincarnated in this world, and he meets up. The first thing he sees is his new parents, Paul and Zenith. Yes, lovely couple. Now, Zenith herself is supposed to be Brian Epperle, which I have heard her before. I believe, yeah, she's the voice of Krista Lenz, well, aka Story Ross in Attack on Titan. She's also Katsuo Katopoulos, and she's Mimosa in Black Clover, which, okay, got a few good ones here. I could have sworn she was also in, like, another series I've heard of. Yeah, this is a more recent series. I haven't seen many series with her in it. Well, she's also in another one, My Smartphone, Love Tyrant. She's in My Hero Academia. She voices Ebra Suzuki. Oh yeah, she's the Vine girl. I could have sworn she was in One Piece. Yeah, I was thinking she was in One Piece. I don't know if she is or not. No, she's not One Piece. She voices Melody from Fairy Tail. Yeah, Paul is voiced by Jared Smith. The only character technically introduced in these two episodes is Roxy. Lovely woman who, of course, they refer to as sort of a younger woman. She's basically, appearance-wise, she looks like probably in her early teens. She's actually older than she looks. Yes, Roxy, in her debut, despite the fact, appearance-wise, looking like she's presumably in her early teens, she's actually 40 years old. I'm not kidding about that. She seriously is. Yep, and she's voiced by Michelle Rose. Which, okay, this actress voiced Nishiro Ishida from Tokyo Ghoul. And aside from that one, she was also in Absolute Duel, which I have seen. Really good series. I kind of wish this one had another one. It was actually the first light novel series I watched this year. Oh yeah, she was the girl she was actually the first love interest for the main character of the series, who they actually went on a date together. Let's see, she voices Gemini, one of Gemini twins from Fairy Tail. And now on My Smartphone, she voices Yue, great character. She's also in One Piece. Card Cap a Sucker Clear Card, which is really good. So this is one of the more recent series she's done. Yeah, so they kind of in a way go through his first few years of his life, where you see like after he's born, we see that apparently his parents are very loving to each other. He does point out that both in the light novel and in the manga, that his parents look like they're being in their early 20s. He does ask a little bit later in the book basically how old they are. Paul is mentioned to be about 24 at this point, and I think he mentions that he's married to his wife since he was like, well, for 5 years. So basically they got married when they were 19, so they had him, this version of him, basically he was 19 per se. And of course he doesn't know he's been reincarnated until he sees his hands. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm just little, what adults do with little babies. They play kisses on them. My mother does it with my niece all the time. The little baby she is. She's like 1 right now. So he basically crawls in the house, basically learns very slowly about what country he's in. And at first you think he's basically reincarnated in the past in Europe. Then he finds out, though, due to the fact this place has magic, he's not on Earth anymore. Nope, one of those type of series. So he looks outside, nice view. I mean, the way the windows look in this house, it looks like they're like telescopic. Now, they do point out, though, that Paul is sort of a low-ranked noble, where he is only able to afford having a maid. It's a nice-looking house. Apparently, he's kind of like the local knight for the area. And he's pretty much a very good swordsman. Apparently, also works out as a very muscular. And he's also a ladies' man. Oh, yes, he is a ladies' man. It is pointed out, though, where he basically Googles a bunch of women, despite the fact he's married to a beautiful woman himself. Despite the fact he has a beautiful wife and a smoking hot maid. They will be getting to that later in probably another episode, per se. So, Rudy, of course, had to crawl around. Eventually, he starts reading, of course, the magical books, basically, there. And then pretty much, like, with him reading these books, he basically learns magical spells. Which, by the way, yes, he does do in this book as well. You just practice, you use just water magic. Okay, water magic. A bit unusual. Like, if I was Rudy, I would probably go for different magic, but water magic is fine. It's useful per se. It's not like in the case of like, and now with my smartphone, where the guy knows like almost every single freaking magic there is, and he's able to keep some stuff with him. This guy is just no, he doesn't keep anything with him, just basically his memories and his intelligence. So he manages to read the book, and basically over the course of a couple years, he's able to, from the age of over a course of a year, he's able to practice using water magic. And then, of course, they get him a teacher after he accidentally destroys a wall in his house. So here comes Roxy, very lovely woman. And, of course, I find that she's tiny, despite that he's a small kid. And then, of course, they try out the magic. And, of course, she accidentally knocks over Xena's tree. Then she just fixes it. And, of course, later on, the tree falls over again. And then she realizes, oh yeah, this kid would not be a waste of my time. And over the course of this episode and the following one, teacher very good at magic, and apparently she lives with him for almost 2 years. Yes, from the age of 3, they live. That's when she becomes Rudy's teacher, and she finishes up at the age of 5. Where in 2 years, it took her a lifetime to learn all this magic. Okay. So, then of course he practices a new spell. He gets, on his birthday, gets his new staff, which I don't know if he keeps it or not. I don't know because, excuse me, honestly, I've only read the first book of the series, so maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. They do hint some stuff basically does happen later on, where she does point out those the mountains just outside the village, where there's a school that's there, which they do mention later in the book he actually does want to go there, and well, don't worry. From what I can tell, yeah, he does go to that school. At some point, I will be getting to that. Don't worry about that. Let's see. Oh yeah, they kind of had this thing where he's afraid the outside world will be ridiculed. And eventually, toward the end of episode 2, he basically goes on horseback. And, of course, he thinks these like, dark ages, these basically middle ages type kids have cell phones. I'm thinking, really? Cell phones. Of course, it's all in his head. And thanks to Roxy, he's able to go over his fear of the outside world, which basically healed him of that. And then they practice their big spell for his graduation, where he's able to basically almost summon a freaking hurricane. Like, she's able to summon a big rainstorm, but he summons a freaking hurricane. Like, oh my gosh. Because I didn't tell you to make it bigger than mine. It's like, oh, it's fine. And of course, she graduate, and with him graduate, it's like nothing else to teach him. And from what I've read, she actually does pop up in later books. She doesn't return again until like book 3, which I've read a line, that's when she makes a return. But don't worry, that will be discussed later on. And pretty much, yeah, she leaves, and despite the fact very sad she left, more interesting stuff will happen in the course of the next 3 episodes. Yep. These episodes are really good. I thoroughly enjoy them. I'm actually quite happy they kept a lot, from what I can tell from reading the chapters, they kept a lot of stuff in from the manga, from the actual light novels. Now, who makes the anime? Studio Bind. Yes, that is the name of this series, which, that's interesting. Yeah, this is the only series that this company has worked on. So, I'm reviewing the first series made by this company, which was only opened up 3 years ago, which, that's something. Apparently, the owners of this company is basically called Egg Firm and White Fox. I have heard of White Fox. This is like a subsidiary of theirs. Like, okay, interesting. I did not expect White Fox to be basically responsible for this series, which is interesting. Yes, White Fox, in case you don't know, was responsible for, well, creating several series I have previously reviewed. And those series being ReZero, Goblin Slayer, Afria, and Cautious Hero. Yep. And this is a studio that they own, which is interesting to say the least. So at least basically got a good hand. The animation for I can tell for this particular series looks really good. It's very crisp, clean, and it almost seems as though it's kind of like bringing it like a comic book to life. In some scenes, it basically looks like it's very beautifully done, and well, I'm hoping to see more from the series. And it was announced like I think it was like a month ago. I think it was that we're getting a part 2 of the season. Yes, coming out in October, which is interesting to say the least. Now, technically, the first half. This is technically the first season of the show, and we're only just now. It only aired 11 episodes, and the series put in hiatus for some strange reason. I don't know what was the reason for the hiatus. Maybe I highly doubt they ran out of material. No, I highly doubt that. It said it was delayed to various circumstances. Apparently, it was supposed to come out next month. Apparently, delayed to October for some strange reason. Yeah. So, from right online, apparently the series was supposed to come out last year, was delayed to just early this year. So, even though they've only released 11 episodes, well, they're going to be more. And follow right online. Apparently, they do cover like 3 full books in just 11 episodes. This first book covered the first 5 episodes. Why am I covering the first 2? Because I wanted to do a review before I wanted to review this today. So tomorrow, I expect to see basically, well, more of this. But yeah, 2 really good episodes of the series. And I can't wait to discuss the next 3. We shall discuss those tomorrow. And also tomorrow, I will also, well, now I finish these 3 episodes, working these 3 episodes, and that's covering book 1. I would also go back to basically doing To Live With Darkness to work on the first set of OVAs for the series. Yep, those will be discussed tomorrow. Okay, so until I see you all tomorrow for our next review. Excuse me. Next video. Bye.